concrete walls. There's a place for us where we could go, where we could be alone. Between city lights, we don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow?
What's up, you guys? Welcome to the live stream. You guys should really see this. How good. Does that not look amazing? People listening to the podcast are not really appreciating what's going on here. Does that not look amazing? You can't see all the little bubbles. So refreshing. The God camera is back. That's right, Alexander FPV. I reset the God camera after using it to do testing for the Cobra goggles, which are also on the desk behind me. You can't hear a thing, huh? Is that true? I don't think that's true. Nice X. Reload your, I don't know, man. Check your volume and reload. I think it's going over. Everybody else can hear me. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me? Make some noise. I don't know. Tonight's drink is Fresca. Much like the time when I was drinking White Claw, I mostly drink Fresca because someone bought it and left it at my house. In this case, my son likes to drink Fresca because I'm raising him to be a real man. He likes to drink Fresca. We don't let him drink caffeinated drinks, and we prefer him to drink... Wait, is Fresca low calorie? We don't like him drinking sugary drinks. I think Fresca is not sugared. I think it's artificial sweetener. So instead, we feed him artificial sweetener. And then sometimes before a live stream, I'm like, hey, a Fresca would go down good. Fresca and... Oh, yeah, look at this. Schwarzwald dry gin. Very good. My wife got me for this for Christmas, I believe. Schwarza dry gin. Gin and Fresca, surprisingly refreshing drink. Very nice. You need to, I mean, if you bought it in a bar, you would need to add some bitters to it or something. Picture's out of focus. Oh no. That can't be. I don't think that's right either. I think the picture is in focus. No, it's in focus. Oh, there we go. All right, well, that's a good stream. Does my son like FPV? Asks Jolly Monster FPV. He likes to go full throttle and do an infinite number of flips until the quad crashes. Is that my 200K celebration drink? Have I hit 200K? I don't think I have. Ooh, 199,322. I got 3,800 subscribers in the last 28 days. So at this rate, it's still going to be 4,000 subscribers. 199,322. I only need like 700 more subscribers. Wow. That's impressive. Let's see. 3,800 divided by 28 is 135 subscribers a day. So I'll be hitting 200,000 subscribers in, that's a 700 divided by 135. 5 days. Oh. Pomegranate juice, very good. Very good. Maybe maraschino cherry juice. Oh, maraschino cherries. Can we get some context of you sucking on a Sharpie? Yeah, no, easy. I needed to stir my drink, and I don't have a spoon. So, Sharpie's the next best thing. A Dog Sage FPV remembers me running around a bar trying to get subs for 100K. Yeah, I was in Vegas for when I crossed 100K. I was in Vegas to interview the Orca guys at, I think it was CES. And we were out for dinner. And I was about to hit 100K. And I started going around the bar asking people to sub to me to get me over the line. So it was pretty exciting. Jolly Monster asks, are there any changes to the newly released DJI V2 goggles? No. The V2 goggles that came out last night, they're the same as the V2 goggles that came out for like 1 day 3 weeks ago. Nothing has changed at all. Actually, that may not be true. Something may have changed, but it's a firmware change. I talked to Cricket today, and he said that he updated the firmware on the goggles to the latest one, and the 1200 milliwatt mod did not work for him. I got the goggles 6 weeks ago, and I updated the firmware to the latest firmware at the time that I got it. And I actually haven't updated them since. I don't know, whatever. The 1200 milliwatt mod definitely worked on the firmware that I put on the goggles 6 weeks ago, but Cricket says that it does not work on the firmware he put on the goggles like a week ago. So it's possible that DJI removed the 1200 milliwatt mod, which is that's a tough one. If that's true, it's still pretty good at 700 milliwatts, but it's even better at 1200. We don't know this. Quad Crazy, don't jump to a conclusion yet. I haven't personally confirmed it. I have a set of goggles with the 1200 milliwatt done, a set of V2 goggles with the 1200 milliwatt mod done, and I need to update them to the latest firmware and see if it goes away. However, I can't do that because the DJI, I can't easily do that like right this minute because the DJI FPV, the app, it's not yet unlocked to recognize the V2 goggles exist. So it's not easy to update the firmware. There's an alternate way to update the firmware if you're in the pre-release program. That's a little bit of a hassle, and I'm not going to do it right here on the stream to find out. But it's possible. It's also possible that they got rid of that hack, and then they just made another one. Yeah. The rollout of the freaking goggles is super weird. Like 3 weeks ago, DJI said, okay, release the goggles. All the stores put their listings up. And then like the next day, DJI was like, no, don't do it. And the stores all took their listings down. Yesterday, GetFPV put a listing up and said they were for sale, in stock. They're now back ordered. They sold the ones they had. And then a whole bunch of other stores put up pre-orders. It's not really clear. Meanwhile, if you go to the DJI FPV app, somebody check this for me if you've got the V2 goggles. Because there are people out there who have the V2 goggles in hand. Somebody check this for me. The DJI FPV app doesn't recognize the V2 goggles yet, as far as I know. So, Danny Fain wants to... By the way, hang on. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Welcome to the stream. Is this your first time? Hello. If it's your first time watching one of my streams. Here's what we do here. Well, we'll get to you. I look over here at your chat. I read your questions and I answer your questions. And we just do that for a whole hour, 2 hours. If you leave a question here in the chat, statistically, it's likely that I won't answer it. It's not that I don't want to answer it. It's just that there are a lot of questions going by, and I can't answer them all. If you want to make sure that I get your question, hit the $ right down here and leave a super chat. We currently have no super chats. I'm sure that will change momentarily. And in addition, I have to thank these beautiful people over here on the right side of the screen. These are my patrons, and they're over on my Discord server. Sync Happens says, despite what Joshua Bardwell says, this is a safe space for Spectrum users. Yeah, it is. Everyone is welcome. And I will do my best to help anyone, regardless of the equipment that they have. When I said, if you don't use OpenTX, you're dead to me, I meant manufacturers. I meant I'm not interested in like a new... FreeSky is going to this new Aeolum OS or some new OS. And it's like, sorry. Spectrum, I probably should learn about this new Aeolum OS because people are going to buy it and use it, and then I won't know anything about it. And then I won't be able to help them. That's annoying. I would much rather be like, stop, don't buy it. And then just stick to OpenTX. Darn it. I never did get very much into Spectrum, though. Because, yeah. I help where I can. If you want to join those beautiful people over in my Discord server, there's a link in the video description to my Patreon page, and you can sign up to support me for a couple bucks a month. And you get to join the Discord server, among other things. That's pretty much it. Let me get this question here from C Young 300, who hang on, there we go. C Young 300 says, I have a JB Freestyle 5-inch stock on 4S. Every time if I don't have a perfect landing, it freaks out, like it flips itself. I have 4 other quads I land the same way. They don't do this. If your quad flips over or freaks out when you land hard or when you tap something, you probably have a bad flight controller with a bad gyro. So probably you need to replace the flight controller. That if you have been screwing with the PIDs and the filters, maybe it's something else, but you probably haven't. You probably are on the default PIDs and filters. C Young, if you are not on the default PIDs and filters, definitely go back to them. But if you are on the default PIDs and filters, reach out to GetFPV, because my gut read is that you have a bad flight controller, and it should just be replaced. I'm not 100% sure. That's just off the cuff during a live stream, but. Big Data Pimp says, Spectrum gets 100% more crap than they deserve. Spectrum is legit. Big Data Pimp, I will say Spectrum makes good radios. Until recently, I would have said their pricing model was completely out of whack. Because they were charging the problem with Spectrum was that they were charging whatever $300 for a 6-channel radio or something, and it's a good radio, but there's just no reason to limit it to 6 channels. There's no technical reason why that couldn't be an 8-channel radio or more. And it's just marketing, and I was really annoyed that they did that. They've got some decent receivers these days, and their new line of radios is actually fairly decent at a fairly good price, but at the end of the day, OpenTX is so much more capable. You could just do anything with it. And the other thing is that when you learn OpenTX, you have so much choice of what radio to get. You know, you could get a gamepad style radio, you get a Tango with Crossfire in it, you get a jumper, you get a Radio Master. There's so many choices for what radio to get. They all run OpenTX, and all of your knowledge transfers over. So, yeah, it's really good. Have you published UAV text tune on the Sedora SL5E? No, that's true. I should totally freaking do that, shouldn't I? I should totally do that. Well, I thought I mailed. Oh, well, I don't have that handy. I know I should totally do that, though. Crazy Sam FPV wants to know, would 2004 motors be too much for a 3-inch? What's a good size? Crazy Sam, I think that 2004 is fantastic on 4-inch props. Those are the motors that are on my Shocker 4-inch from Catalyst Machine Works, and they kick ass. They are way better than, like, I've seen 1407 motors. I think these 2004s are way better. 2004, I think, is on the tall side. It's on the big side for 3-inch, but I'll bet there's people out there running 3-inch on 2004, especially if you're running more aggressive 3-inch props. Most 3-inch quads aren't running 2004, though. They're using a little bit smaller motors. You can actually see the tune. Well, there's some CLI things he did, so that's not true. So I'll get that up. I need to get that up. Here, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Where is... Here we go. Tasks. Hang on. I'm going to add this to my task list. Upload UAV tech tune to paste bin. Yep. Okay, I got it. Oh, I got a lot of... I got a lot of other things to do, too. Oh, this one I think I finished. Anyway. When do you think the Tango 2 will come back into stock? Asks the Jackie Jazz. No clue, man. You gotta ask TBS. 2 weeks from now. That's the answer. With anything TBS, it's always coming in 2 weeks. Excuse me. 507RC says the Tango 2, he got an email that the Tango 2 was in stock, so maybe it is. What? Oh, you must be talking about UAV Tech. Beantime FPV wants to know if it's okay if he sends me a pizza. No, that's okay. Thank you. Especially not during a live stream. What, am I going to go upstairs and get it? It's just... Plus, there's a gate across my driveway, and it always just really confuses the pizza delivery drivers. Yeah, no. No need for that. Heli Nation has the Tango 2 in stock. Well, that's exciting. At least according to 507RC. Yep, and Mr. Eddie Nunez agrees. Heli Nation has the Tango 2 in stock. And Marty Gerdank agrees. So, there's the answer, Jackie Jazz. Have I ever used a tile sticker to be able to track my favorite drone? Asks Lee UF Fan Addict. No, I haven't. My question about tile is, what's the range on them? Like, I guess the weight isn't too much, so they're not that heavy. I'm curious what the range is. I just think there's better ways to find your quad. I would put like a self-powered buzzer on it, and that's going to do the job really well. We got a couple super chats coming in. Let me get those out of the way. It's only 20 minutes into the live stream. It's earlier than I usually do. Tiny Hawk 2 Race or Tiny Hawk 2 Freestyle? Let's bring those two up and compare them. All right. So, Tiny Hawk 2 Freestyle. I usually don't need to go on Amazon, but okay. Tiny Hawk 2 Freestyle. These are two completely different quadcopters. They really just don't compare. The Race, let's see. They both run on 2S. Wait a minute. 73 grams. This one is 2.5 inch. What size is the Tiny Hawk 2? That's not 2.5 inches, is it? What size prop does it take? 2 inch, yeah. So the Tiny Hawk 2 Race is a 2 inch. The Tiny Hawk 2 Freestyle is a 2.5 inch. Let's see. Motors. I really need to find the frickin' Emacs page for this. There we go. Come on now. There we go. Show me the specifications. I have the same motors. Oh my gosh, almost the same KV. Well, I got to tell you, they're not as different as I thought now that I'm looking at the spec. 49 grams, 47.5. They're almost, geez, they're almost the same weight. Wow. I really thought they were going to be more differentiated. They're almost the same weight. 2 inch props at 7,500 kV for the Race. 2.5 inch props at 7,000 kV for the Freestyle. Wow. Almost the same. Almost the same weight. 450 mAh battery. Yeah, how about that? Not that different. So, okay, now that I have more facts in front of me instead of just shooting off my mouth. Tiny Hawk Race or Tiny Hawk Freestyle? I would take the Freestyle. I've flown both of them, and I liked the Freestyle better, but what I was trying to do was fun freestyle flying. The Freestyle flies a little bit more like, it's more like a 3 inch, whereas the Race flies a little bit more like a tiny whoop. By the time you're running 2 inch props, you're not running a tiny whoop, but it's a little bit more of a feel like a tiny whoop and less like a Freestyle quad. I don't know how much of that the geometry and the camera position has to do. It seems like the Race is tailored towards racing. But again, by the time you're up at the 2 inch range, you're not really talking about a tiny whoop per se. So I think between the two, pick the one. I mean, if you want racing, pick the Race. If you want freestyle and fun cruising, I'd take the Freestyle. Personally, I would take the Freestyle. For high-speed analog tiny whoop, I think the Mobula 6 is one of the best. Happy model has a little bit of a iffy history with quality. So, but what are you going to do? There's hardly anybody who doesn't. The Newbie Drone Hummingbird Pro is another really good one. But those are down in the 65 millimeter range and are actual tiny whoops. C. Young, thank you for a $10 super chat. Just to say thanks. Shazam Witch, thank you for a $10 super chat. What is your stance on Tracer versus Crossfire? Hey, can I show you guys something? You're going to like this. I'm going to... it's going to take me a minute to bring it up, but I may not. I may actually almost have it. Check this out. So this... Do you guys remember yesterday? Yeah, you probably do. Yesterday on the live stream, I was looking for help doing range testing. Tracer, Crossfire, etc. And somebody pointed me to Wesley Vardy's website or his YouTube channel. And I've been talking to Wesley. He is outside the U.S., so wherever he's at, he does range testing. Check out this great graph that he sent me. Oh my God, screenshot this. Couple things to keep in mind. All of these tests were done at 250 hertz. All of them were done at 250 hertz. So this is the fast update rate. So for example, Ghost, if you take Ghost out of pure race mode, it'll go even further. Okay? Is that really? That doesn't seem right. Something doesn't add up there. 100 milliwatts LoRa, 5 kilometers, 350 milliwatts shouldn't get you to 20. I don't think that can be at 250 hertz. That has to be normal mode. Okay, so the graph is not really complete yet. He just sent me this as a summary of his work. We're gonna do more, Mike Bergman. Mike Bergman says, "Oh, this is gold." We're gonna do more. I hope that he will work with me to do more testing. Like you'll notice, Crossfire isn't on this list. Haha, FreeSky R9 isn't on this list. I hope that he will do more testing, and I will be able to help facilitate that, and we'll be able to fill this chart out. But if we look at Tracer, ludicrous output power Tracer went 30 kilometers. Now, even if you say that's a long-range quad, that's ideal conditions, whatever, yada, 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 chances are that realistically, like how far do most people fly? Like most people on this live stream, I'm going to guess a typical person flies less than 2 to 4 kilometers. It's just my gut feeling. Most people aren't going out further than that. So if you get 30 kilometers under ideal conditions, you're probably going to outrun your video. That's my point. Omar Hughes says ludicrous is 650 milliwatts. That's interesting. If ludicrous is 650 milliwatts, I don't think that can be true. Because 650 is going from 100 to 650, I don't know. I don't think you would go from 5 to 30. I think it feels like there's more than that. But suffice it to say that Tracer at 100 milliwatts went 5.4 kilometers. Again, that's under ideal conditions. I would say that that's not enough for me. If you go 5 kilometers up in the air with a long-distance plane, then I'm not going to trust you to go 1.5 kilometers in a concrete bando or something like that. But at ludicrous power, it went 30 kilometers, and that's probably under almost every condition you can imagine going to be more range than anybody needs. Now, Crossfire can do the same thing if you're using LoRa modulation, but that's only 50 hertz. And if you care about latency, then you're going to want to be running 150 hertz, and they're using FSK modulation, which is pretty crappy. It's not on this list, so we can't compare it directly to Tracer. But I would gut check that Crossfire 150 hertz at 250 milliwatts, which is what I usually fly it at. I would gut check it at about the same range as a typical FreeSky 2.4 gig link, so about 1 to 2 kilometers. Now you can go from 250 milliwatts up to 1 watt if you want to, and get a little further. So Crossfire versus Tracer. I think a lot of people are going to say Tracer in ludicrous mode is more more range than I need. There are advantages to 2.4 gigahertz, like smaller antennas and less interference from other pilots. And a lot of people, now that ludicrous mode is out, are going to say that Tracer is the right solution for them. But to those people, I say, cool, yeah, spend your money how you like. Tracer is great. Why are people saying Crossfire versus Tracer, and fewer people seem to be saying Crossfire versus Tracer versus Ghost? Because Ghost, man, well, I don't know. Maybe that's the answer. Maybe the answer is in this chart. Because Ghost maxes out at 350 milliwatts. I am really skeptical that Ghost went 5 kilometers on 100 milliwatt LoRa and went 27 kilometers on 350 milliwatt LoRa. That difference in power should not translate to that much range. Something doesn't add up there. It sure does seem like Tracer is winning, though, because FLRC has telemetry. It's bidirectional. Ghost to do 250 milliwatts. I'm sorry, Ghost to do 250 hertz with LoRa has to give up telemetry. Now, Ghost does have a unreleased mode, an FLRC mode, just like Tracer, which gives telemetry at 250 hertz, but it's only 350 milliwatts, so it can't go as far. Yeah. Have I answered your question yet? Between Crossfire and Tracer, I feel like the answer, now that Tracer has ludicrous mode, a lot of people are going to go Tracer. Some people have pointed out that in ludicrous power mode, Tracer gets super hot and it sucks the battery down super fast. Some people have pointed out that the typical pilot can't even feel the difference. I don't know if I find that convincing. Skadoosh says Crossfire has cleaner packets. Yeah? Cleaner packets. It's true. A lot of people are arguing, well, not a lot of people. Some people are arguing that more consistent packet delivery is more important. Like UAV Tech, Mark Spatz has argued that more consistent packet delivery is more important than just a low or a fast update rate. Anyway. Beantime FPV says Tracer's new firmware update made 100 milliwatt mode actually output 150 milliwatts. That's the other reason I'm skeptical about doing tests this way. Thank you for pointing that out, Beantime. I haven't verified that, whether that's true. But when a manufacturer, when you test and you set all the devices to 100 milliwatts, you're trusting the manufacturer to actually put out 100 milliwatts. And so manufacturers may game this system. They may know that a test pilot is going to set these devices to 100 milliwatts and then do range tests, assuming that that's accurate. And if they actually output 150 milliwatts, then they'll go further and it'll look like they're doing better. My preferred way of testing these things is to put them all at max power and then just see how far they go. But the problem with that is that you sometimes end up having to go way further than you expected. Wesley said that he was working on a plane that could go 100 kilometers, and he could probably get each of these links to failsafe. Anyway. I'm going to close out this topic. We've talked about it for a while. I think it's an interesting topic, and I'm looking forward to getting to do more research about it. I think in the answer to the question, Crossfire versus Tracer versus Ghost, the first question you ask is, am I going to outrun my video? And if you assume that you want low latency, Crossfire is the first one to get kicked off the island. Because in order to get 150 hertz, which isn't even as fast, it's not even the 250 hertz of Tracer and Ghost. Crossfire has to do FSK mode, and it gets really bad. Maybe Crossfire 1 watt could keep up with Tracer, but I think Crossfire is the first one to get kicked off the island if you care about latency. And then you got to decide between Tracer and Ghost, and I think it's less clear. But if you're already in the TBS ecosystem, you may feel most comfortable staying with Tracer. I do think that Tracer now with ludicrous mode will consistently outrun most people's video. EDOC points out that Freedom TX doesn't support Ghost. That's a good point. If you have TBS Tango 2, you will not be running Ghost. Let me get a couple more super chats out of the way. Thank you, Shazamwich, for giving me an excuse to talk for 10 minutes about that. Shepsta FPV, thanks for your $2.69 donation. What motor or prop combination for the fastest 5-inch with a naked GoPro? You can't answer that question. I'm sorry, Shepsta. There's too much unknowns there, so let's talk it through. You want to go fast? 2700 kV motors on 6S with APC speed props. Little two blade. Oh, you're going to go fast. And your battery is going to blow up and your ESC is going to light on fire. But until that happens, you'll go 160 miles an hour. Oh, I see. So you do care about flight time, right? How fast do you want to go? The fastest 5-inch will go, I think the current record is like 198 miles an hour. But it's not good for anything other than straight line speed. So since you say you're carrying a naked GoPro, you probably are doing freestyle or cruising. Let's say you want to go 90 or 100 miles an hour. I mean, if you get the weight down, you probably can do that with like, I would probably go with like a 2000 or 2200 kV motor on 6S. And that'll get the speed up there. You're going to want high pitch props, but it's very challenging to match the prop to the motor. So if you have too high pitch a prop, then it'll bog down the motor and you will actually get lower full throttle RPMs and you won't get as good a top speed. So you're probably going to want to use a bigger motor, like a 2407 or 2208 size motor, or maybe even a little bigger, so you have the torque. You're going to want to use a KV, I would say at least 2000 KV on 6S, and a good high C rate battery. Narwhal Sauce says, as a beginner, what drone would you recommend? I'm interested in Tiny Whoop since I can fly in my house. Let's see if I've got anything for you over at my website, the Ultimate FPV Shopping List. I've got a section on ready to fly and bind and fly drones. And here's some 100% ready to fly. And I like the Humminbird Pro. Or maybe the Humminbird V1. Those are two good ones. Isaac Mitchell, thanks for a $5 super chat. Jinx FPV, thanks for a $5 super chat. Darren a lot, thanks for a 99 Australian cents. And Craig Shell, thanks for $5. Is there an extra 5-volt input pad on the back of the Crossfire Nano RX? I don't think so. It's possible that there's like some test pads back there, and one of them would be 5-volt. I mean, I couldn't tell you which it was. I bet if you reach out to TBS support, they'll tell you. Danny Fay asks, do you know anyone who has converted from thumbing to pinching? I got a Radio Master and I just can't get comfortable pinching. It's just too big. I mean, obviously, Dan, I think you're asking, yeah, you want to convert from pinching to thumbing. I don't know anybody who's gone back. Most people I know have gone from thumbing to pinching and like it. I pinch on the Radio Master. If it's too big for your hands, though, it's just not working for you. Yeah, you got to figure it out. 661 FPV says, how doesn't the Crossfire Nano RX have through holes? How do you rip off a hole? I mean, the silver or the copper trace could come off. Dean F says, thanks for the help over the years. I'm building my 60th drone today. It's a lot of drones. Fly Low D says, is it true that the TBS Unifi Pro HV actually does 1.6 watts and not 1 watt? Is that true? Fly Low D, TBS switched to saying at least 1 watt or 1 watt or more because I think they were tired of people trying to check them. They're like, whatever, you're giving you a lot of output power. Shut up. I don't know if it's consistently like 1.6 watts. A lot of times when the video transmitter is set to max power, it just basically pulls out all the stops and cranks the amplifier to max. And that can be different values depending on various things. So, like, I can speak for Immersion RC because Tony Cake has told me what they do. Immersion RC carefully calibrates their video transmitters at 25 milliwatts because they don't want you going to a race and getting disqualified because your video transmitter is putting out too much power. But at max power, it's like, who cares? Just set it to max and go full blast. Just crank it to 10 and you get what you get. And so that may be, I don't know, but that may be what TBS is doing with the unifi. And if that's true, then the max output power won't be calibrated to a specific value. It'll kind of be all over the place and it'll just be max. What's a good replacement for the Caddx Vista, asks Gregory Carr. There is no replacement for the Caddx Vista. I think I'm misunderstanding your question, Gregory. Is it because of the FCC, asks Nysax. It may be. I mean, the FCC might have been looking their way. Video transmitters over 1 watt are not supposed to be flown in the air. So it's possible by saying 1 watt or more, they're kind of sneaking below the radar. Don't know about that. Is the Nebula Pro on par with the Caddx Vista, asks eDoc. I see what we're asking. All of those things are the Caddx Vista. It's just the Vista with a different camera, right? The Vista, to me, is the air unit. It's the Vista. And then some of them have a camera. Some of them have the Vista camera. Some of them have the Caddx Pro camera. I will say the Caddx Nebula Pro camera is pretty good. It's definitely usable and maybe as good as the Caddx Vista. The sensor is a little smaller, but I think most people would be happy with the Nebula Pro, and it's a lot cheaper. Flylo D says that TBS says they will update the firmware for Crossfire, further reducing the latency. They also said the packet update will be applied for Crossfire, not just Tracer. Huh. Do I have a review of the Nebula Pro, asks Christian Sign. Christian, I am working on that. If we take a look on my website, fbvknowitall.com, one of my pages is the editorial calendar. And the editorial calendar shows my hope for what will go out when. It is often shuffled at the last minute. In fact, this GepRC video was not the video that was supposed to go out today. Oops. And the whole schedule got a little shuffled as a result, but that's life. I currently have the Caddx Nebula Pro scheduled for the 17th. So I will be working on that. It's coming. Unless something goes wrong. Cobra is on there for Friday. That one's looking pretty good. Is it bad if I put blue thread locker on my motor wires? I don't know if that would hurt. Diddy FPV. I will tell you, I knew somebody who put thread locker on his prop nuts. And then when he went to fly, the props exploded at the hub. The solvent that's in the thread locker weakened the plastic. And he didn't know that you were supposed to use nylock nuts. You didn't need to use thread locker. Now, here's the great part of this story. I swear to God this is true. I met this guy, and he said, he just told me this as a funny story. He was like, yeah, once upon a time, my props were exploding, and I figured it out. It's because I was using thread locker. I was like, oh, how about that? I guess that, yeah. Somebody emailed me a year later, months later, and they said, oh, it's the weirdest thing, man. All my props I went to fly, they just exploded at the hub. And I said, did you put thread locker on your prop nuts? And they were like, yeah, I did. How'd you know that? And I was like, and I looked like a freaking psychic genius. It was so satisfying. Yeah, he would put his props on the night before he was going to go fly. He would thread lock them so the nuts didn't come off. And then overnight, the solvent would weaken the plastic, and the props would explode. He was using the red thread locker, the blue thread, whichever one comes off, the blue thread locker. So it wasn't the permanent thread locker. Thank goodness. Yeah, don't use thread locker on plastic props. Shadowwalker is looking for the paste bin PID tunes. Shadowwalker, that is... I have a whole bunch of config dumps over here on Pastebin. Jolly Monster FPV in the Discord asks, I'm having some range troubles with my Recon V3 with an Luminaire Axie V2 antenna. What can I do? The first thing I would do, Jolly Monster, I mean, I assume it just started, but the first thing I would do is change the antenna to a new antenna. Maybe your antenna's damaged. The second thing I would do is try different quads and see if it's only one quad or several. If it's several quads, then it's not your goggles. Then it's not the quads, it's the goggles. RCA FPV Torino wants to know, Iflight has posted a picture of their H7 Beast AIO on a 30mm board with BLE 32. Should I use it for a 7-inch? RCA FPV, I got to tell you, man, I would hesitate to use it on a 5-inch. Now, let me be clear. Here, let's put up a picture first for the people who don't know what we're talking about. I am so impressed with what Iflight has done with their Beast flight controller. Hold on a second. I got to blow my nose. Hold on a second. I don't know why, but as soon as I start streaming, I get all congested. Go figure. I am so impressed with what Iflight has done with these flight controllers. The engineering in them is beyond what most people will comprehend. And I don't comprehend it. But I talk to other people who do electronic circuit design, and they're like, this is a freaking masterpiece. Okay? So, these are great flight controllers, and they're fine. I would not even hesitate to use them on everything up to, let's say, a 3-inch, easily a 4-inch maybe, and a lightweight 5-inch that you're not bashing too hard. But I just am so skeptical if you're going super hard with a 6S 5-inch. If you're in the 600, 700, 800 gram range, I just am so sure you're going to blow this up. Because there's only so much room on the freaking board, the FETs and I don't know. Now this new one you're talking about is a 30mm. This is a 25mm. So they have an even bigger one with a 30mm. Maybe they've done it. So cool if they have. I want it to be true. But I think if you buy one of these and you put it on anything bigger than, let's say, a lightweight 5-inch at most, my gut feeling is that you're the guinea pig. And we're going to find out a year from now if that was a mistake. So you're talking about putting it on a 7-inch. Now, but wait, you say, oh, it's rated for 55 amps. Whatever. First of all, amps are different than voltage spikes. So if it's rated for 55 amps continuous, that's fine. But you start getting big 40, 50 volt voltage spikes when you hit the motors. That's going to kill something in a way that amps won't. So I would hesitate to put that on a 7-inch. You got big honking motors, big honking props. I feel like you're taking a chance. And what do you care? 7-inch, you're not like trying to save weight. What do you care? That's my take on it. Josh Feltz, thank you for a $5 super chat. Do you ever, in the quiet times, in some dark corner of your mind, regret turning your fun hobby into a job? From one Joshua to another. Let's be honest, it's different, right? When I had a day job and I could just do whatever I wanted every day. And that's still true to a certain degree, but I have to at least think about what you want now, right? Like live streams. I keep doing live streams because I know it's good for me to do live streams. I like doing the live streams, but I don't want to do them every day that I do them. Sometimes I would rather just do, maybe I don't feel like live streaming tonight. But I do it because you guys show up. You're ready for me to be here. It would be kind of rude, disrespectful of your time if I was just like, I mean, I'm not saying that, like, I have canceled live streams before at the last minute. I'm not saying I never do it. But most of the time I show up and I do it. And that's a different thing once it's a job. No, I don't regret it at all. Not even a tiny bit. It's such a privilege to have this job. It really is. Yeah. I mean, you're gonna. Yeah. No, not at all. Not at all. It does change, but I don't regret it. Not a bit. The first day that after I quit my job, I woke up in the morning and I was like, I can do whatever I want today. And that's still true. In fact, just today, I was looking at my calendar. I swear this is a totally true story. Just today, I was looking at my calendar, and I went, hang on. I went, I'm so behind. I'm so behind. I haven't finished these. I have these videos to do today. And I went, stop. You're not behind. You got a ton of things done already today. And if one of these videos doesn't go out on the day you put it out, so what? You just move it to a different day. Life will go on. So yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah. It's like I got like, so I just published the one of the things that put me, this is my mindset, my screwed up mindset. I was behind schedule this week. The reason I was behind schedule is because GetFPV said I've been waiting for them to get the Caddx Vista kits in so that we could update the beginner build to have the Caddx Vista in it. And they finally reached out to me and they said, we got them, they're in, they're ready to go, we just need you to make the video. I was like, oh crap, well I gotta sit down. So I sat down and I recorded the build and the setup video, which is an hour of content. So it probably took, let's say it took 4 hours to record. Maybe 2 hours. So I got an hour of additional content out last week that I didn't plan on doing. And yet somehow I look at this. It wasn't on the calendar, though. So somehow I'm like behind schedule. And I was like, shut up. I make the schedule. I could just delete all these things and say we're not posting, So. Skadoosh says, I'm harder on myself than any boss could ever be. 100% right. 100%. Of course, I'm harder on myself in the work that I put on myself to do. I load myself up with work. And then when I don't get it done, I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. Screw it. So in that sense, I'm easier on myself than a boss would be. Mad Props. Oh my God. Mad Props says, I have the Beast H7 on this quad running 7-inch bi-blades. I guess it hasn't blown up yet. This is that 7-inch foam core carbon frame from TBS. Tyler FPV says, I have a rapid fire module on HD3s, and I just ordered Tracer. How far should I set the output power and frequency for Tracer? Tracer only has one frequency, so there's no setting it. As far as output power goes, I mean, I probably would set it to ludicrous, and it's going to suck your battery down, but what are you going to do? I like the range. I want the range. In addition to range, I want consistent packets with no lost packets. Thanks, Josh Feltz, for your super chat. Isaac Mitchell, thanks for a $5 super chat. I want to put my Crossfire light module on the jumper T light. Do I need to use the adapters? Is there a better way? No, you should use the adapters. That's the right way to do it. Does DJI have good repair service? Yes, Eric Dunlap in the YouTube chat. Everyone I know who has gone through DJI is impressed with their service. DJI is a true consumer electronics company. They're not like these FPV companies, which are small and scrappy and hungry and desperate and oftentimes poor. So they're not going to nickel and dime you over I've so many people are like, I ripped the UFL off my Vista. Okay, whatever. Send it back. Well, they send you a new one. Yeah, they have great warranty service. You definitely should reach out to DJI support if you break your Vista, you break your air unit. I'm not promising you that they'll just give you free stuff, but they definitely will be able to take care of you one way or the other. Gregory Hurst says, yeah, they fixed my Phantom, but it cost a lot of money. Yeah, I mean, the worst thing they'll do is they'll say, hey, it's busted, it's not under warranty, and you got to buy a new one. But I know that they've taken care of a lot of people. Will the Digidaptor work with the V2 goggles? Asks Technodrone. Technodrone, the V2 goggles have exactly the same form factor as the V1, so they will work with all accessories. Jolly Monster says, Race Day Quads doesn't nickel and dime you. That is true. I had a faulty backpack, and they sent me a new one right away, especially if it's a Race Day Quads product. Yeah, they're not going to nickel and dime you on that. Time Chaser says, if I set my Crossfire Micro to 25 milliwatts with dynamic power on, will it increase power as I fly farther away? No. Time Chaser, the power you set in the Crossfire is the max power, and then dynamic power will reduce the power as you get closer. But if you set the power to 25 milliwatts, it will not go any higher than that as you fly away. Urban 2006 in the Discord wants to know if there's an update on my Freestyle 2021 build. Yeah, Urban. I liked the QAVS frame, but I asked GetFPV if they could cut me one with a solid top plate for me to test instead of a split top plate. And I asked for a couple other changes that I'm not going to talk about because I don't want to spoil the surprise. So they're going to be cutting that for me, and I'm going to be testing it. I also asked Bob Ruge if he would send me a set of his 5-inch motors that I'd like to try. They are big honking motors, but people say that they are worth it. They're surprisingly not that heavy for their size. I want to try them out. I know that I've been talking about my Ultimate Freestyle 21 build since like summer of 2020. And the bottom line is that when I find the right, the ultimate freestyle build always has to be me being as excited as possible that I have found an awesome set of parts. I'm going to build 3 of them in a row for myself. It's going to be like mine. And until I just haven't found, or like for a while I was waiting for my flight controller, my F7 to be released. Now it's out. You know, I just need to find the confluence of events to be just perfect. And we're not quite there yet, but we're close. The camera obviously is going to be, the analog camera obviously is going to be the JB Phoenix. The JB F7 is going to be the flight controller. The motor was going to be the JB motor, but we're not going to make another batch of those as far as I know. And I'm going to be picking a different motor. The prop obviously is going to be the Gemfan JB prop. The frame could be the QAVS if I like the changes that they make to it. The video transmitter, I have been planning to use the Rush, the 20 millimeter Rush VTX that goes to 800 milliwatts. I may take a look at the new Rush Solo, which goes to like 1.6 watts. But I'm not sure how the size is going to fit. Is the perfect build going to be expensive? Asks Cannon Hughes. Cannon Hughes, I do a lot of budget builds. When I do the ultimate freestyle build, I don't think about price. I just pick whatever parts I want. The price is not a consideration. It doesn't mean that I pick expensive parts just for the sake of doing it. Yeah, Huff 19. These are the motors. Bob I think, in fact, I got them in the mail today. These are the motors from FPV Cycle that I'm going to be trying out. Here's the big question that I'm going to be asking myself. And this was one of the things that made me go back and second guess my own motor. Because I've been flying the Sedora SL5E, and it flies pretty freaking good when you tune it. And it's using, I think it's using 2207 motors, and they're not particularly high-end motors. They're not bad motors. They're just the Zing E motors. They're not premium motors. And it freaking flies great once you tune it a little bit. And I thought, well, do you need a 2407, a 2208? If a 2207 can do it and you save a couple grams per motor, why are you using a bigger motor? And then I said, okay, well, I guess 2306, 2207 is where I'm going to be. And then I was talking to Kebab, and he was like, yeah, I've got this new motor. And he's not releasing the size of the motor. Some people have said in the chat what they think the size of the motor is. I'm not going to say out of respect for Bob, but it's bigger. It's bigger. And I was like, what? Come on, Bob. And he's like, no, it makes a big difference. And I'm like, okay, I'll try it. But I literally just said, I don't think that there's a point to bigger motors. I think for 5-inch, 2207 or 2306 is fine. Excuse me. That was very rude. Sorry about that, chat. But for Kebab, I'll try it out. You know? What about the Zing 2? I haven't actually seen those. Zing 2. I don't know. Where are they? I can't find them. The other motor I think that's interesting is the Cyber Zing. Now, the Cyber Zing is only a 2207.5. It's not a big, massive motor. It actually comes in a 2306 as well, I believe. But the difference with this motor is it's got a 10mm bearing. That's exciting. That's a big difference in the durability of the motor. So, I don't know. We'll have to see. I kind of want to use Kebab's. Like, I was thinking about. I kind of want to use Kebab's motor, just because Kebab is awesome and he deserves it. Aerial Master wants to know, can you explain how the 2/5 gigahertz combo antennas on the DJI V2s work? Yeah, Aerial Master. So the DJI V2 goggles, according to the FCC paperwork, they transmit and receive in both 2.4 gig and 5.8 gig. And they only have a single set of antennas. So how is that possible? It's because 2.4 gig and 5.8 gig are almost exactly double/1/2 each other. It's fairly easy to build a multiband antenna that works for both of them. They're not quite double, but it's close, and you can build a wideband antenna that works for both of them. So will they work with a typical 5 gigahertz antenna? If you're using the DJI V2 goggle with a regular air unit and Vista, the air unit and the Vista only operate in 5 gig. So if you're a typical FPV pilot, then you're only going to be operating in 5 gig anyway. And so you should, I would think, be able to use your patch antennas and so forth. Gregory Hurst, I know that 2.4 gig times 2 is 4.8, not 5.8. I know that. I'm capable of doing that math. I said they're close. They're close enough that you can design a wideband antenna that works okay at 2.4 gig and okay at 5.8 gig. I mean, we know that they can do it because they do it. Lao Tzu says, it's a bit silly of Kebab not to release the motor size, since competitors can easily just rip one apart. Yeah. There's more to it than that. I've missed some super chats. Hold on. No, I haven't. I'm caught up, but here we go. Blythen FPV, thank you for a $5 super chat. Any suggestions for upgrading the motors for the JB Xylo Quad? Blythen, I think if you're going to upgrade that JB budget build or the beginner build, the motors are the place where I would start. The motors are 2206 in size, and they're not particularly powerful. We thought that was an okay trade-off to get the price down a little bit, because beginners don't need the most powerful motors anyway. But if you were to upgrade one thing, that would be a great choice to upgrade. I think I would stick with a 2306 or a 2207 sized motor, and I would stick with about the same KV, assuming you're going to keep the same battery voltage. After that, you can go check out my website, fpvknowitall.com. Go to the Ultimate FPV shopping list and go to motors, flight controller, motors, and props. There's a section on motors, and you can kind of pick what you like there. I mean, the Emax Eco 2 is a great budget choice. And there are a few others that you could take a look at. But if you want to get great value, the Eco 2 is a great choice. So, Abraham, thank you for $5. The issue with Bob's stuff is it goes out of stock immediately. Then he makes some minuscule change, and the parts you need or want are gone forever. I have noticed that, especially with his frames. That's always a risk with Bob. He already told me. I hope I'm not getting in trouble by saying this. He already told me that there's a change in the motor that he's going to make. I don't know how that'll affect your ability to get spares, but it's like he never stops iterating, and it does mean it's hard to keep things in stock, and it's hard to get spares. So that definitely is something to take into consideration if you're going to use his motors. Hopefully his motors won't iterate as fast as his frames, but I guess you can't really count on that. Jeffro FPV, thanks for a $5 super chat. What's the purpose of the O-ring inside of a motor bell shaft? Is it for heat isolation? An O-ring inside of a motor shaft? I don't know if I know what you're talking about there, Jeffro. I mean, there is a washer between the screw and the bearing, which, you know, that's there obviously to reduce friction. Iflight motors have a bushing that helps with vibration isolation and protects the bearings from damage in a shock. Yeah, I don't know which O-ring you're talking about. Shadow Walker, thanks for 400 rupees. Saw your paste bin tunes. Thanks for the work. Jason Winland, thank you for a $20 super chat. I have a question about my second build. I want to try cruising with the Xylo frame at 6 or 7 inches using 4S batteries and keep similar size motors to save money. Is that a waste of time and money, or should I go 6S? If you have the Xylo frame using 4S batteries, keeping similar size motors to what? I'm not sure which motors you're talking about being similar size to, Jason Winland. I feel bad because you left me a $20 super chat. This is a pretty big super chat. But when you say you want to try cruising with and use similar size motors, but I don't know what the motors are similar size to. If you got 5-inch motors that are 2306 or bigger, then you can easily go to 6-inch props, and as long as you keep the KV As long as you keep the throttle a little bit sane, you could easily go to 7-inch props. If you have the JB beginner build and it's got the 2206 motors, I would not recommend doing them on 7-inch. If you have further questions about that, definitely just reach out to me, okay? Email me or whatever. Oh, that's a good question, Andre Smith. Yeah, Jolly Monster, I thought he was talking about the beginner build. If you are talking about the beginner build, don't run 7-inch props on those 2206 motors. That's not a good idea. Yeah, similar size motors to 2207, Jason Winland. 2207, you can easily run 6-inch on, maybe 7-inch if you're a little easy on the throttle. Audrey Smith asks, are you considering shark bite for your lightweight build? Fat Shark. I think somebody's at the door, Fat Shark. Hey, Fat Shark, will you go check the... Will you go see if somebody's at the door? Yeah. No. No. All the way out to the garage, please. I think I heard them out in the garage. Okay, thank you. No. I am not considering shark bite for my build. Because, like, there's people out there who run analog usually because of money. Analog's cheaper. And there's people out there who run DJI because it's freaking awesome. Oh, you're biased. Yeah, I'm biased towards awesome things. You know what else I like? It's pepperoni pizza. You're biased towards pepperoni pizza. Yeah, because it's freaking awesome. Shut up. DJI is awesome. Shark bite's in a weird place where it's nearly as expensive as DJI under many configurations. Like, I think Sharkbite just released their single board VTX that only goes to 200 milliwatts, and it's only $50. And that gives them a little bit of price. But, like, if the Sharkbite camera is $50 and the Sharkbite VTX that goes to 200 milliwatts is $50, you're spending $100 to get into a Sharkbite system. $125 for a Caddx Nebula Pro. It's only 25% more, goes to 700 milliwatts or maybe 1200 milliwatts, and it's just better than Sharkbite, like, in every way, for like $25 more. It's just so hard. There's a very small set of people for whom Sharkbite is perfect. And Sharkbite is legitimately good. In a world where DJI didn't exist, I would be all over Sharkbite. I wouldn't even look back. But DJI does exist, and Sharkbite is too close in price to DJI and not as good in most ways. So I will not be doing a Sharkbite build. Gregory Hurst says Sharkbite looks pretty good. Better than I thought it did, but it doesn't seem to be very durable. Oh, Fat Shark, you're back. What do you mean there was nobody at the door? I swear, I'm so sorry, man. I swear I heard somebody at the door. Are you sure? What about the back door? Would you mind? No, there's nothing going on in the live stream. We're just talking about Bob FPV cycle motors. Yeah. All right, cool. Yeah, the back door. I mean, they might have gone around the house. Maybe you should wait by the back door for a minute. All right. See you, Fat Shark. Yeah, John Eska, Johnny Fly FPV, or is it Johnny 5? Which is he? Shoot. John Eska said that everybody he knew who got Sharkbite basically gave up on it because, like, they just kept dying. I am totally just repeating something somebody else said. I have no independent verification of it. There is no question that DJI is super durable. So Sharkbite is like, I want to live in a world where there's a competitor to DJI. Because if DJI just suddenly, there was a moment in the release of the V2 where I thought DJI had made a decision that was going to be a deal breaker for me. And I was about to be like, oh, F, what am I going to do with my life? Should I buy all the DJI that I can get and hope that it lasts me for a while? And fortunately, it turned out that I had made an incorrect assumption. I got clarification and I was wrong. And I was like, oh, phew. But for a minute, I thought, what am I going to do if DJI stops working for me and I have to do something else? And I was really glad to be like, well, I guess I could go for my shark bite. So I want shark bite to be good. I want it to exist. However, I think that most people are not going to be willing to pay what SharkBite is asking for what it's delivering in order to, like, on some philosophical level, ensure that they continue to exist. License to Drive is feeling like he's not welcome here because he has SharkBite. And I guess what I'm saying is if you have SharkBite, you are dead to me. Whoa! Oh, Fat Shark, you're back! Ha ha! No! Oh, he's just a... You have a new goggle? You have a new goggle? Really? What are you talking about? No, that's just an HDO2. What are you talking about? Oh, that is your new goggle. Oh, good job, Fat Shark. Way to go. Okay, I'm going to stop now. Oh, where am I? Where am I in the super chats? Clinton Bailey, thanks for a $10 super chat. Thanks for all you do for this hobby. Your knowledge and willingness to share it are irreplaceable. Are you getting sick? I am not getting sick. Thank you for asking. I'm not getting sick. I have, I guess it must be allergies or maybe it's a deviated septum. I have no idea. But I get, my nose gets clogged up sometimes. I know that I'm not getting sick. I am definitely, I can tell a difference. But sometimes it's just clogged up. Ori Foxer, thanks for a $5 super chat. What do you think about 10-inch for freestyle? I mean, 10-inch is not going to make a great freestyle quad because the larger quad is going to rotate slower, and when you crash, it's going to be way, way more energetic because of its increased mass. It's going to move slower. Like, I've freestyled a beast class, and it's not as good as freestyling a 5-inch. I mean, it's thrilling. It's dangerous. It's expensive if you crash. It's like those guys who take their phone and hold it out a window and they try and flip their phone 10 times in a row without dropping it. It's just kind of a stupid game that you do just to prove you can. If you need to carry a large camera, 10-inch is a great way to go. But if what you want is freestyle, 5-inch is a really sweet spot for performance, efficiency, durability, and so forth. If you are like, no, I got to build a 10-inch freestyle quad. I just want to do it. Yeah, more power to you. It's going to kick ass. But it's not going to be as good a freestyle quad as a 5-inch. But it'll just be an awesome 10-inch quad. More power to you. 12S. Go 12S. Don't go 6S. Nah. Don't go 6S. Don't half-ass that shit. You go 10-inch freestyle. You go 12S. Never look back. Should I buy Orca HD or buy DJI? I already have the Orca goggles, says Orny Foxter. No one knows when Orca HD is going to come out. So if you already have the Orca goggles, you're already invested. You're going to pay nearly that much. You're going to pay like $500 more for DJI. I don't know. Who knows when Orca HD is coming? So how could I tell you to wait or not wait? No one knows. I don't think Orca knows. 661 FPV. Talking about Express LRS. Express LRS needs an ST link to flash, so 99% of us can't do it. Well, that's very interesting that you say that, because you are about to get your mind blown. It's not even the news stream. It's not even the news stream, but I'm going to drop a piece of news for you. Boom. What? Yep. Happy Model is about to release an Express LRS module and receiver. Pre-flashed and ready to go. Oh. How about that? And there's more coming soon. Looks like Beta FPV is getting ready to do Express LRS hardware, according to GitHub. And I don't know who this is. Namimo RC is getting ready to drop some Express LRS hardware. So, if you love Express LRS and you're waiting to not have, for mass adoption, it seems like it's coming soon. What's new with a linchpin? Asks him Fused FPV. They extended the contest deadline. I don't know why they did that, but you can flash using your radio. That's what I thought, Lava Chemist. But anyway, being able to buy it certainly is nice. Carlos FPV, thanks for a $10 super chat. Thinking about buying some new motors. If only there was a website with a shopping list. Thank you, Carlos FPV. I have promoted the shopping list already, so I'm gonna wait for now about that. Is it a bad thing to run 3 motors and then one odd one if it's the same KV and size? Joey Arson wants to know. Nah, it's no big deal. It's probably no big deal. MK wants to know, when companies use open source, like for Express LRS, are they donating to the devs? I don't know about that. Certainly, I mean, not all open source devs want to be paid. What is that box goggles in the back? Asks Guillermo Nespolo. This is the Sky Zone Cobra. Got a review of this coming out on my channel this week. Toward the end of the week. Shady says, in theory, will the DJI 2.4 gigahertz mode allow more pilots in the air at a higher frame rate? So, Shady, I'm going to very carefully dance around my NDA. If you have only 5 gigahertz, then you can get a certain number of pilots in the air. If you have 5 gigahertz and 2.4 gigahertz, you can get more pilots in the air because you have more spectrum. That's a fact. The Air Unit and Vista do not support 2.4 gigahertz. So, if you have the DJI Goggles V2 and you are flying using the Air Unit and the Vista, you are not using 2.4 gigahertz for that. So, then no additional pilots will get in the air if you're using the Air Unit and the Vista. There is no information today to suggest that DJI is going to update the Air Unit and the Vista to a V2. No FCC filings or anything like that. So there's no indication that the Air Unit and the Vista will use 2.4 gigahertz now or at any point in the foreseeable future. The Air Unit doesn't have 2.4 gig capability, Bubby. No, it doesn't do 2.4 gig. Kyle K wants to know, is there a firmware is there a time frame on that DJI drone. Kyle K, you have seen leaks of a completed project. So hopefully it'll be sometime soon. 661 FPV says, well, how many DJI FPV quads can be in the air at the same time? 661 FPV, Rotor Riot did a video that got 8 in the air at the same time. There are only 8 channels, so you couldn't do more than that. Blind FPV, all of the things that I'm currently under NDA about pertain to unreleased products. You've seen some products leak, and I can neither confirm nor deny whether those are the products I'm talking about. But, you started seeing leaks for the goggles. You started seeing leaks for some other products. Then there were these FCC filings that confirmed that certain products existed. Now the goggles have come out. What could I possibly be talking about? So many people go, he's talking about, and then they make up some new product that doesn't exist, that no one has ever suggested exists. They're like, it must be that there's a new air unit coming. Well, is there any evidence for that? Occam's razor. I'm probably talking about something that actually exists as opposed to something that's completely... Anyway, figure it out. Serenity FPV wants to know, is it okay to not use gummies on an ESC with grounded mounting holes? You should always assume that the mounting screws are grounded to the frame. So if the mounting holes are also grounded, that's fine. You just don't want... it's not ideal, but it's fine. Christian Sign says, don't know how you managed to talk about it so much without actually saying some info. Christian, I am being very careful about the info that I reveal, but I am revealing as much info as I possibly can without getting myself in trouble. So if you're just hearing blah, 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 man, you got to fine tune your antenna. You know what I'm saying? I am revealing as much information as I can without getting myself in trouble. I'm having to talk carefully, though. So. Jeff RC, thank you for 10. SGD. I don't know what an SGD is off the top of my head. New T-Motor F55A Mini, but the current sensor shows 6 amps when it's only 300 milliamps. I adjusted the offset and ratio to match. Voltage sensor seems accurate. Is it safe to fly? I don't really focus on amp draw, just voltage. Well, if you don't focus on amp draw, just voltage, then just turn the current sensor off and don't pay attention to amp draw. I would say, I'm going to guess that if you adjusted the offset and the ratio, you probably didn't get the offset right. The offset you cannot get correct unless you measure 2 points. So you would need to test it at 1 amp and at 50 amps. And that would allow you to get both the offset and the ratio. If you only test at 1 point, you're not gonna get it right. So having the offset, yeah, you're gonna be correct at like 1 amp, but off everywhere else. Probably you just have the wrong current sensor selected. Like you need ESC sensor, but you had internal ADC or vice versa. But if you only care about voltage anyway, yeah, just turn the current sensor off and just go fly. Marty Gerdank says, just be careful that your ESC holes are not tied to a motor output like the Holy Bro does. Yeah. So you want to be really sure that those mounting holes are grounded and they are not tied to positive battery. Like there's a Racer Star ESC, I believe, that the mounting holes are VBAT. Like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Why would you do that? tying the mounting holes to ground is like okay because the frame is always assumed to be grounded anyway, so what's the harm? They should really not be, but okay, fine. But tying the mounting holes to VBAT is like guaranteed that you're going to fry something if you don't use gummies. So that's just stupid. Racer Star, I don't know what they were thinking. And then Holy Bro has an ESC, at least one ESC, maybe more, I'm not sure which one exactly. One of the mounting holes is tied to the motor output. Like, how did that happen? Like, you're designing the circuit board, right? And you got copper that you can just put wherever you want, right? Is there some reason? Like, you couldn't just, like, run the trace around? I don't know. Maybe they had to do it because they, like, needed a high current trace and they didn't have enough room on the board. It just seems like a really stupid decision. But, there you go. Why do they tie stuff to the mounting holes? Yeah, I don't know, Bubby. My guess would be, I've done circuit board design before, just at the hobbyist amateur level, just for fun, but I have done it. And you have all these traces that need to go from point A to point B on the board. And routing them is tricky. Sometimes, because the traces can't cross, right? Except the board is multi-layer. So, like, let's say you've got a 6-layer board. So now you can have two traces and one goes underneath the other, and now they can cross. But eventually you just run out of ways to get the electricity from point A to point B, especially because a motor output needs to be able to carry a fair amount of current. So, but it doesn't make any freaking sense because the output of the FET is right there next to the motor output. So the trace just goes straight from the output to the FET straight out to the edge of the board. It makes no sense. I cannot imagine how it happened. And I cannot imagine that there's any good reason to have done it that way. And as Ciati says, it's like they designed it so that it blows up. So dumb. Jeff RC, going back to your question about calibrating the offset and the scale. Jeff, do you remember back in elementary school where we did the slope of a line and it was y equals mx plus b? Where m was the slope and b was the y offset. Well, the offset value is the y offset of that line and the scale is the slope. So what you need to do to calibrate a current sensor is you get the scale correct and you get the y offset correct. You see? And if you're only measuring 1 point, you see, you could have a bunch of different scale and offset values that cause the line to pass through that point and it'll appear to be calibrated correctly, but it'll only actually be correct at that 1 point. So in order to actually calibrate the current sensor correctly, you actually have to measure 2 points. Ideally, you measure more than 2 points. And what you do is you end up coming up with a scale with a y off with a slope and a y intercept, and then that. Thank you. I kept saying y offset, y intercept, and that gives you the offset and the scale value, or you just get it from the freaking manufacturer. They know what it should be. A whole lot of people correcting my statement of y offset instead of y intercept. Calibrating a current sensor is actually fairly difficult. The simplest way to calibrate the current sensor is to leave the offset value alone and just cross your fingers that the manufacturer got it right, and then just use the milliamp hours from your battery charger to calibrate versus the milliamp hours in your OSD. That will usually get you pretty close. Tristan Stoneman wants to know, should I sell my Dogecoin or take it to the moon? You don't sell that Dogecoin. You take it to the moon. Doge going to the moon. I had a weird experience the other night. So I don't know if you guys know, but on my website, there's ways you can donate to me. This is not shilling for donations. Like it's got my PayPal address. Well, it also has some crypto addresses. You can send me Bitcoin if you want, because people are like, why don't you take crypto? And I'm like, oh, okay, fine, whatever. So there's some crypto addresses. Bitcoin has like, it's like quadrupled in value over the course of the last year. It's gone from like 10,000 a coin to like 40,000 a coin at the peak. I don't know what it's at right now. And I thought, at the beginning of the year when Bitcoin was $10,000, I never would have gone, I think I'm going to buy Bitcoin. Because I think it's going to go up from there. And it like quadrupled in value. So somebody said, hey, I sent you some whatever, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin. I don't know what it was. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to go over to my crypto wallet. I'm going to look at how much money's in there. And it turns out people have been tipping me Bitcoin. Not a lot of Bitcoin. I'm not a millionaire. But they've been tipping me small amounts of Bitcoin. And it's just been sitting in the crypto wallet that I don't pay a lot of attention to. Because, like, what am I going to do? Nobody sends me... I mean... I always treat that crypto wallet like, hey, you know what? If Bitcoin blows up, maybe I'll be a millionaire someday. I just kind of pretend it doesn't exist. And so it turns out that all last year, while Bitcoin was quadrupling in value, I actually had some Bitcoin. And so, like, instead of there being like a couple $100 in there, I guess, and what it must have been, there's like over $1,000 in there. I was just like, oh. Yeah, I made some money on Bitcoin. I didn't sell it. I'm going to hold it. Because who knows what Bitcoin's going to do. I was like, oh, look, I have Bitcoin. Well, how about that? I feel like such a big shot. I mean, if I really cared, I would buy more. But, yeah, then Elon Musk bought like $1.3 billion worth of Bitcoin. Probably made more money. Rule number 1 of Bitcoin. Never tell people how much Bitcoin you have. I don't know how much Bitcoin I have. Like I said, people just tip it to the address. Aber the Ham says, the dumbest thing I ever did was not buy Bitcoin when it was under $100. And the best thing I ever did was buy a bunch of Bitcoin when it was at $2,000. Yeah. If you bought Bitcoin at $2,000, it is currently around $40,000. So you did all freaking right. I mean, unless you sell right now. Unless you eventually you have to sell. And take your money. Anyway, we're not here to talk about Bitcoin. Just thought I'd share that story. Hang on a second.
Between concrete walls, there's a place for us where we could go, where we could be alone. Between city lights, we don't.
Exciting. Oh, Jeff RC, thank you for SGD. 5 more SGD. Thanks for the info and for reminding me of algebra. Robert Davis, thanks for $5. Steve King, thanks for $5. Is there a 2021 best controller, or can you share exactly what controller and receiver you use? Asks Hotmail Boy. Yeah. So the first thing I want to show you is this video. This video is my best FPV RC controller December 2020 roundup. I use the Radiomaster TX16S, mostly with Crossfire, but also with Tracer and Ghost. And 661 FPV is 100% right that there is no best. Whenever you see me make a video with the title, best blah, 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 that is almost 100% of the time going to be because SEO. Because, look, you go to incognito window, youtube.com. Best whatever. Best. That's just what people search for. That's just what people search for. Best whatever. They search for best. So it's just an SEO thing to put best RC controller. Yeah, whatever. Very occasionally, I will think that something is legitimately just the best all around, and we'll call it that. Very, very seldom. But I use the Radiomaster TX16S. Joshua Enrique says, can you tell the Rotorite guys to share the GoPro 9 STLs? Joshua, those STLs that they sell in the store, they designed those, or they paid to have them designed. They keep them, and they want to sell you. They're just not doing the open source model there, I don't think. They want to just sell you those prints. You got to come up with your own print if you want something that you can print, if you want the STL. Hotmail Boy wants to get the same one I use, but I don't know how it works. Well, I got some. So what I would say is search for, the last time I did like a complete setup is with the Jumper T16. But the beauty is that since it's an OpenTX radio, it's going to be the same in the Radiomaster. So I've got some setup videos for the Jumper T16. I would steer you towards those. Watch them, but get the Radiomaster. Mad Props is showing this picture of the finished Oreo 7 with the Iflight Beast H7 in it. Yeah, get back to me. Tell me how that holds up. Tell me how that holds up. You know, a couple months, let me know if it fries the flight controller. If not, hey, I'll be the first to admit. John Dausilio, is it legal to fly a sub-250 drone in the DC no-fly zone? I don't think so, no. It's a no-fly zone. It's not legal to fly anything, I don't think. I wouldn't chance it. Guillermo Nispolo says, if a radio from TBS is named Choropan, remember that it was me who named it. Choropan, a delicious treat from Argentina. I love me some Argentinian sausage. Just love to take a nice big thick Argentinian sausage and when are you looking at me like that? What? That's what Choropan is. It's a great big thick Argentinian sausage. Oh, that look good. You just like to shove that in your mouth. Oh yeah. Guess I'm saying that Argentinians all love eating sausage. Why are you looking at me like that? What's the focus like in the DJI FPV goggles? Asks Istavenagen. I wear reading glasses about +3 diopter to see my computer screen. Will I need them with the FPV goggles? I don't know what the exact focal distance of the FPV goggles are. Typically, in similar goggles, they set the focal distance to be about 6 feet, and they just have lenses to trick your eyes. And the reason is that when things are too close to your eyes, you can get eye strain from having to focus close to them. So if you need +3 diopter readers to see your computer screen at about 2 feet away, my gut feeling is you would also need lenses to help you with the DJI goggles. The good news is that the DJI goggles, it's fairly easy to fit smaller glasses inside them, or you can get custom lenses from RHO Lens, and they will cut you. I'm sure they can do a plus diopter as well as a minus diopter. Kim Fused FPV in the Discord wants to know how I'm liking the Jumper T-Lite. I'm sorry to say the T-Lite video was supposed to come out tomorrow, and it won't be because I've been super busy with other stuff and haven't gotten to it. So, yeah. Airway says, should I get the SkyZone Sky 04X or just go digital? If you have to ask, you should just get DJI. I mean, the big reason to not get DJI is usually the money. And if you have to ask that question, you probably have the money. Obviously, do the math. And it's pretty freaking awesome. And once you start flying it, you don't want to fly analog anymore because it looks like crap. And I say this as someone who still flies analog because it's my job. I do not have the luxury of saying, you know, F analog forever, because I'm a man of the people. Right, Fat Shark? Yeah, analog's still pretty good, Fat Shark. What do you mean? Fat Shark, you don't like analog anymore? Oh, Fat Shark, you're doing the shark bite thing. That's right. Good for you, man. Yeah, they're getting rid of the analog. Fat Shark's not doing analog anymore. They're doing the shark bite thing. That's true. Jan Booth wants me to comment on the PCB design and build quality of the TBS Tango 2. That's not really an area of my specialty, Jan Booth. For PCB design and commentary, check out LiveU FPV, LIVYU, LiveU FPV. As far as build quality goes, though, it's really freaking solid. It's a very well built, especially for the price. Yeah, it's very good. KVKV wants to know if I flew RC planes before mini quads. For a few months, I flew planes, but then I started flying quads and I wasn't interested anymore. Nestor Z wants to know if I have a video about calibrating battery voltage so it shows correctly in the DJI OSD. I assume you mean the quads battery. You just change the VBAT scale, but most flight controllers have a VBAT scale of 110, and that is almost always the correct value. So it's so consistent that if you have a flight controller that is not reading the correct voltage with a VBAT scale of 110, it usually means that the flight controller is broken, not out of calibration. Jeremiah Ulishne wants to know, can you get Crossfire Diversity Nano RX RSSI and LQ to show up in Betaflight or iNav without using channel 12 in the receiver tab? I don't see why not. Jeremiah, make sure you're on the latest Crossfire firmware 4 dot something. You need to go in to TBS Agent X and enable the show beta firmware option, and then you'll see firmware version 4 dot whatever. Update the firmware to the latest, and then Betaflight 4.2 should pick up both LQ and RSSI automatically from the telemetry. You should not need to use any aux channel. I am not sick, Zorro. I just sometimes get a stuffy nose from allergies or just because my body's being weird. I also didn't give you COVID. You gave me COVID. All right, I thought we agreed we weren't going to pass blame. You met me in a stairwell and said, "Kiss me, you fool." And I just was swept away by your beautiful, beautiful eyes. And later we both came down with something, and we just decided that the heat of the moment, well, what could we do? Nestor Z says it shows 0.2 to 0.3 volts per cell lower in the goggles. I mean, is it showing the same in the flight controller, Nestor, as it's showing in the goggles? It should. I don't see why it wouldn't, but... Okay. Well, then, if it's just 0.2 or 0.3 volts lower, raise the VBAT scale in the power and battery tab from 110, raise it to like 111, and see if that fixes it. A lot of people, everybody went in February of 2020. We went to Washington and did the protest. And a whole bunch of people got sick after the protest. Bachgrinder got sick. I got sick. I had a really bad, I actually had to I stopped posting to my channel and just was offline for a week. But I've argued that I don't think it was COVID. I mean, it could have been COVID. The timing was right. I've argued that I don't think it was COVID because I didn't have any fever and I didn't have any cough. And the other people I talked to also didn't have those symptoms, which is not 100%, but some people think that we all got COVID at the protest. A lot of people think it could have been. I mean, I acknowledge that it could have been. It could have been. A whole lot of people got sick. It was whatever it was pretty contagious. But the symptoms, at least, did not match COVID, at least for me or anybody I knew. So it would be great if it was COVID, because then I would have gotten it out of the way. Gregory Hurst, the COVID antibody tests are not really reliable, though. Did not lose taste, say yay. Did not lose taste. Just was really sick, tired, and run down. Stuffy nose. It just felt to me like a really bad cold. Not even the flu, just a really bad cold. The antibody tests are not reliable. They're not reliable enough for me to feel like they're good enough for anything. The antibodies go away over the time, is the problem. Nobody was wearing masks back in February. Nope. Huff19 says, this is how we're going to close the live stream, talking about getting COVID at the protest. Whatever. Huff19 says COVID symptoms are different for each person. That's true. But I talked to people because I wondered. And everybody I talked to who got sick, none of them had COVID symptoms. They didn't have the loss of taste. I believe they didn't have fever, if my memory is correct. They didn't have cough. Everybody just had a really bad cold. So, anyway. So my money, if I were a betting man, I'd say I don't think it is. I don't think it was COVID. It was just a cold. Andrew Nelson, thank you for a $5 super chat. I'm on a budget. If I make the goggles the last thing I buy, can I get started with a nice radio and use Oculus Gear VR with my phone? No, you can't do that. No, that's not going to work. Too much latency. Buy a controller and practice in the simulator. HackRC F7, thank you. Sunshine, thank you for $5. HackRC F7, I pulled the cam pad. Can I connect the yellow wire from the cam pad to the VTX pad, along with the yellow wire from the VTX? Still work and get OSD? No, that will not work. In fact, it's likely if you do exactly that the OSD will interfere with the sync pulses from the camera, and you might lose video too. So you can connect, if you lifted the cam pad, the only way to get OSD is to somehow get that signal into the OSD chip. So, for example, in theory, you can solder directly to the pin on the Max chip, the OSD chip. But what I always say is if you are bad enough at soldering that you lifted the cam pad, no offense, but if you lifted the cam pad, you are at least a little bit bad at soldering. Let's just put it that way. Because if you were really good at soldering, you wouldn't have lifted the pad. No offense. If you're lifted the pad, then you're probably going to also struggle to solder to the pin on the Max chip because it's really tiny. But you could give it a go. Christopher Little, thanks for a $5 super chat. Two $5 super chats. Do you keep your 18650 lithium-ion batteries at full charge? Yeah. I don't storage charge them or anything. It probably hurts their performance, but whatever. I need my goggle batteries to be charged up. Yeah, Sunshine. So Sunshine acknowledges that they are bad at soldering. Fair enough. So don't try to solder directly to the max chip because you will probably screw that up and then you'll just be in a worse situation. But if you ever need to, you have to get the pin out of the chip because I don't know the pin number off the top of my head. You download the data sheet for the max OSD chip. You look up the pin out and you look for where the video in pin is. And then you can solder straight to that pin and it does work. What is Fly doing? Ooh, getting a little hostile up in here. Whoa. Whoa. Huh. All right. I need to time that guy out. I'm going to time that guy out. How about that? All right, moving on. Can we get an update to the liftoff map so we can fly inside your house? Asks Joshua Enriquez. I actually mentioned that offhandedly to liftoff devs, and basically it would be really complicated to add the house interior. Having the house in as a single asset is simpler than having the whole interior of the house. So the short answer is that's not going to happen. See you later, Nestor Z. We are coming up on the end of the stream. It's 4 minutes to the end of the stream. Siadi was here briefly. Are you streaming tonight, Siadi? Siadi usually streams at 10 on his channel after me. Let's see if he's around. Israel Castellan, thanks for a $10 super chat. I can't set my endpoint to 2000. It sets it to 1999 on Betaflight and 2000 on the radio. Is this okay? In Betaflight, it goes from 1999 to 2001. Yeah, it's fine. Being off by one doesn't freaking matter. Don't worry about it. I've had that happen too. Siadi is here. He's going to be streaming at 10. In just about 3 minutes, he's going to start posting a link to his channel and his stream, and you can definitely check that out. Do I have a blue light filter? Tyler Harris. What do you mean, on my phone? I think so. How's my Hacko soldering iron holding up? Great, Copter612. Great, it's perfect. I replace the tip like once a year, maybe less. Ooh, Siadi sent me something from Amazon for that table back there. Ooh, I can't wait to see what that is. That's exciting. I keep my Bitcoin in a very, very boring place, Jeff Jorzak. I'm not going to say where, because probably shouldn't, but trust me, it's nothing. I keep my Bitcoin in a secret encrypted partition on this USB drive. When you plug the USB drive in, normally it says that it's just a bunch of pictures of cats. But if you hold down the shift key while you plug it in, you get prompted to make the mouse move a specific way, and then it unlocks your Bitcoin wallet. And then 10 years from now, you've got $20 million in your Bitcoin wallet that you can't get at because you locked it up too much. See how he keeps his Bitcoin under his bed. That's funny. That's funny. All right, guys, we're wrapping up the stream. Thank you so much for coming out. We'll be doing at 6 p.m. tomorrow. We'll be doing the news with JB and It's Blunty. And that'll be the end of streaming for the week, but lots more other content coming out. Check out my website, fpvknowitall.com, if you want to see my editorial calendar to see what's coming up this week. But that's going to do it for tonight. Siati, have a great stream. He's posted the link. He's going to be going online just as soon as I end my stream. Thank you guys for coming out. Happy flying, everybody.